Hi, if you've ever wondered, how can I build deeper, better, more successful relationships with my clients and even with my new clients, well, you know what? We're going to go through and we'll talk about that today in the next few minutes. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, partners, the world changes. So when you're building relationships with your clients, the key thing is always going to be trust and curiosity. So to set the table with this, when you're starting, one of the primary things you're looking at is what is the intention you are coming to the relationship with. Are you coming to the relationship specifically looking just to make money? It's going to get sensed if that's the case. But if you're coming to that relationship genuinely, in your heart, with a true sense and intention of doing everything you possibly can to change that person's life, to help them and improve where they are, it's going to help you, and it'll set the table for where you want to be. Now this applies whether you're a business coach, a health coach, fitness coach, endurance coach, any types of those programs. I always like to start my conversations with, hey, start with something positive. Set that table, get them to remember what's a victory. And then, what is going to be highest and best use of our time? How can I be of greatest value and service to you? What this does is you really want this to make them, A, realize that it's about them. But to start with, one of the biggest things and easiest things you can do right off the bat is making sure that you're 100% present. And what I mean by that is, I think being the gift of presence right now is the number one gift we can give anyone, even including ourselves. And what I mean by that is, I actually go through and I make the exercise to where I show people I'm putting my phone in airplane mode, I make sure that it's off, or I turn it on airplane mode, and then I put it away to where I can't even see it. And then I sit there and I look at them, I take a breath, look them in the eyes, and let them know that I am there for them. This sets the table, like I said, in creating and initiating that trust. Now, once we're there, we may have a lot of times a little chit chat to begin with. Help me understand where you're at as a person. I also want to understand that if some SOB cut me off in traffic on the way over and I'm just grumpy, okay? Or maybe the dog made a mess. Or maybe they just got a great phone call and things are really positive. It's all good. But make sure that you understand where that person is. Remember the old adage, when you take the you and the me out of assume, what are you left with? Well, you don't ever want to be the ass when you're the coach. So with that, start with a spirit of curiosity and really try and understand where they are. So as you set your intention for you, the next step is as you sit down, you start to engage with them, be ultra present. I always suggest try and look in their eyes. What color eyes do they have? You should know this, but it feels different when you're that connected with someone. Then third, have that spirit of curiosity. See where they're at right now. And then the fourth thing is, when you ask, what is highest and best use of our time? Start with that parking lot. And a lot of times we may make those notes. Yeah, this is good, this is bad, this is positives. But as coach, and particularly as a business and life coach, the main thing we're doing at that point is we're starting to try and look around the corners. We're trying to connect the dots. We're looking between the lines. If we say this and this and this and this and this, okay, are those all really the challenges? I'm guessing they're not. More often than not, I'm willing to guess that those are symptoms. And if, as the coach, you can be the person who steps back, breathes, has their best interest in mind, and you can genuinely say, hey, look, how can I help you with this? Is it this? How about that? But try and help them define what the real issue is. Now, as you're creating the relationship, there's something that not very affectionately is called a shit sandwich. But what it means is it's a management type of technique to where if like, hey, we've got a challenge, something's going on, you go up and you start with a positive, you ask permission, then you be direct, and then you pull up with another positive at the end to where things are positive, but the middle is a little bit of a challenge. I don't really like that, to be blunt. There's nothing wrong with being positive, and that's important to remember, to remind people to be positive. But one of the key things that I get paid for is to be fearless and to be direct, but with a compassionate perspective. So what I mean by that is, if I see somebody that's walking into a buzzsaw, maybe they've got their own blind spot, they're missing something. Okay, it's where if you primarily look at I statements, use I statements and say, hey, I will actually ask permission. I'll tee it up and say, hey, look, I'm gonna challenge you here. Are you ready? I do that on purpose because it gives them a split second to where it's reminding them why we're engaged the way we are. Why have they brought me in? And that's my job, is to be candid and be direct. So it's like, hey, I've got some feedback, or I've got a different perspective. You ready? Gives them a minute to take a spec, okay? And then primarily from an I statement perspective, say, look, dude, as I'm seeing this or I'm seeing that, is it possible that you're walking into a buzzsaw? I had a challenging conversation today with somebody where it's like, all right, I think with this particular deal, from my perspective, is it possible that your ego is getting in the way? And I gotta tell you, no senior leader likes to hear that. But if it is happening, senior leaders 100% need to hear that. But it's when we're able to do those things, when we can be there, we can listen, and then try and look between the lines. What are the symptoms? What is the root cause of those symptoms? And help them and be curious. Really have that spirit of curiosity, keep digging, pushing, challenge, dig, challenge, to where they eventually get to a point where it's like, yeah, maybe that's right. Okay, so fair enough if it is. How can we address it? What's a different way of looking at it? How can you move that in a forward way? So these are some very basic techniques when you're getting started. But as you grow, and I have clients that I've been coaching literally for years and years, is the more we can address the whole person. How is that person working on a holistic level? A lot of times, I'll start with, dude, how you sleeping? Miss, tell me, how you sleeping at night? And when they're really honest with you, they start saying, well, I'm getting a solid 4, solid 6. But what happens is, by being challenged, nobody's ever challenged them about, are you sleeping enough? Well, why does that matter? Okay, fair enough, good question. But tell me this, do you think that you are making the most proactive decisions you possibly can? Are you in a calm place when you're not rested? Or when you're fully rested, are you not in a reactionary state? And do you make better decisions? I've got one CEO I work with on a regular basis, and he will tell you that he feels that is his biggest, hands down, his biggest competitive advantage is when he is well rested. Because he thinks he's not reactionary, he's much more intentional with how he chooses to make his decisions. To do that though, you have to be willing to address the whole person. How are you sleeping? Are you getting enough exercise? What's your relationship at home like? How are you doing as a dad? When was the last time you took your wife on a date? These are the types of things that in traditional business or traditional fitness, or a lot of levels, people are like, how on earth does this have anything to do with creating a relationship? Man, that's business, leave me alone. But the thing is, there's an old adage, if mama ain't happy at home, ain't nobody happy. And there's truth with that. And I've lived this to where maybe I brought work home too much and I wasn't necessarily being present with my home life. And as a result, I ended up spinning into a reactionary mess. And I wasn't being nearly as good a leader as I could be. So a tool you can use is called the balance wheel. You're welcome to go to our website, lifeon-yourterms.com, and you can download it. It's about a 10-minute, it takes less than 10 minutes, and it'll give you immediate results, but it helps you to start to create an assessment of where you are. It's my belief that every organization, leadership team, and individual goes through one of 4 phases. First, when we do our assessment, we have to stabilize, then we visualize, strategize, and then we can execute. But if we don't have time and we're coming in and we're building a relationship of trust, and we don't have time for it, and these guys are like, dude, I don't have time to scratch my nose. I don't have time to be here. Okay, that says right now we got to work on stabilization. I can talk about visualizing and strategy and all sorts of tools till I'm blue in the face and all those other things. It's going to go in one ear, out the other. Until people have time to breathe, stabilize. Then once they do that, then we can start to visualize. Help them start really, what is possible? Where do we want to be? What would amazing look like? And then once we do that, then we can help them start to build a strategy around how we're going to achieve it. And then how do we, as their coach, as their advisor with ruthless but compassionate and consistent accountability. Hold their feet to the fire. Doesn't mean that we're going to chew them out, but it does mean we're going to follow up. When you start doing these things and you have this type of compassion and consistency, this is what's going to continuously rebuild and build and build and build and build that relationship. And the deeper your relationship goes, the bigger the impact you're going to have with those people. And the bigger your impact is, the more you're with them, the more they're going to stick with you. The more it's going to, your retention will skyrocket. And as a result of that, it is going to drive more and more and more revenue for them. But not only that, it's going to drive it for you, because you're going to be able to ask for more and more and more and be like, they can't think of not being around, that they need that. Now, it doesn't mean that we're trying to create some sort of unnatural relationship, but we do want them to know that they have an ultra consistent place that they can trust somebody, that they know they're going to be challenged, they're going to be held accountable, and somebody who's really looking out for them as the primary asset of the company. So if you found this interesting, hey, we would love you to follow us, check out some other videos, and yeah, please keep on this channel. But we're really grateful for your investing the time today. Keep smiling.